Well, my early memories of the Lower East Side were all good, you know, basically. A lot of excitement, you know, actually coming up in the 60s, being born in the 60s and being raised in the 70s and 80s and stuff. There was always a lot of excitement, you know, the war era was going on. The streets were filled with people. It was a big time for music. You know, we were raised not so much in the streets, but we had a street life, you know, even as kids, and we enjoyed the seasons. So it was like every season had its own fantasy come to life. You know, in the summertime, we had all the pools and we had the pumps open. You know, we were in the parks, or, you know, all the trees, and we would be out for hours and hours, you know, before it got dark, and we just had all types of different activities.
I would say, particularly, it has mellowed down quite a bit. However, it still has that mark that at one time it was a rough area. You could still see a lot of ghetto guys. You could actually see a lot of people, a new generation of drug addicts and a new generation of drug dealers. Arguments that actually happen in apartment buildings, and some of these arguments have actually happened right next door to me, and they've gotten so intense that I'm surprised nobody's been shot, stabbed, or killed. And so back then it was very rough. It was the jungle back then. Nowadays, it has mellowed out because of the Yuppi influence, because of the new businesses that have actually opened up. Some of the buildings that were new buildings that have come, you know, to be, you know, like rebuilt, otherwise just built altogether new, and you don't really see the gangs like you saw back then in the 70s, where they had colors. Nowadays it's tattoos and necklaces and stuff like that, colors of jackets, colors of sleeves, or sometimes they don't even have jackets or sleeves at all. They just have a tattoo.
If I were to compare the LES of yesterday to today, and it were maybe 15, 20 years ago, I probably would have been surprised by the changes. Today the rents are a lot higher, the faces that live here are a lot different, a lot less color in the faces than there used to be when I was growing up. And you know, the types of cafes and eateries that have popped up, the nightlife on Orchard Street compared to the folks peddling clothes and things like that. Food that was being sold out of barrels, even still, candy and pickles and things like that all over the streets. You know, it's totally different.
The Lower East Side, I seen it change, you know. Lots of the buildings that are burnt, that was burned, now they reborn again, and it's more expensive to live in the Lower East Side. You know, the rent is sky high.
So once 99, 2000 came around, there was an ill shift. Because any other day in the Lower East Side, if I would have did that sketch, they would have kept it moving. Just another kid painting in the street, but to me that was big. Like, to me, I was like,
but also too,
they jumped out.
Daylight afternoon, so cops are like, who's this rank graffiti?
Yeah.
But they used to seeing Chico on the ladder.
Yeah, they would. Yeah,
Chico, they keep going.
Yeah, they keep going.
They don't see no Chico. They be like, yo, who these kids? Who
that was
graffiti?
kind of another resistance that came into play. Like, the reason why I don't have as many murals in the Lower East Side is because either one, they don't want it, or two, if your name's not Chico, they just wouldn't, you know, they'd rather see Corona bottles and some fruit as opposed to seeing some funk. And I get it.
And now
you know
that,
what I mean?
they could be drug dealers in the corner, but they're gonna look at the one that's rank graffiti.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you gotta kind of accept that New York is this really expensive piece of real estate, that every closet is worth, you know, $1 gazillion. So it's always, you know, it's always evolving, right? New York, you remember that? I think it was the Sunday Daily News. They had New York's changing scene, and they'd show you like what it looked like what any particular corner looked like 50 years ago and how it looks now. And that's always happened. So the fact that, I mean, the Lower East Side got whatever revitalized and became worth a fortune, and people got pushed out, it sucks.